In today's video, we're checking out the Two-Notes Captor X Reactive Loadbox and Attenuator. Welcome to the channel, folks. My name's Shane. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and click the bell. So if you're unfamiliar with the Two-Notes Captor X or any of this type of technology, this will do a number of different things. The first thing it will do is completely take the load of your amplifier and bypass the speaker completely, and then you can use the XLRs on the back to go out to your audio interface. And then you can set your studio monitors or headphones at whatever volume you like, and you're not gonna blow your ears out. The best thing about a valve amp is when you get them up nice and loud. So this will allow you to record at the amp sweet spot, not only in the digital realm thanks to these XLR outs, but we also get a speaker through here which goes back to your speaker in the amplifier, and then you can set that volume accordingly between full, medium and low. Low is like, you know, nighttime bedroom amplifier volume. Medium is like a loud conversation level, and full is allowing all of the watts to hit the speaker. So it will be the same as if this wasn't even in the chain. Just to let you know, since 2015, I've shot hundreds and hundreds of videos as well as a couple of albums using the Two-Notes Torpedo Live. It's been an absolute mainstay here on the channel and at the house, and it completely changed the way I recorded. Prior to that, I was using isolation cabinets, which just always sounded too boxy. Firstly, a massive thank you to Jason from Two-Notes for sending this out for the review. I really appreciate it. This is one of those units where I actually contacted them because I've been such a huge fan of the Two-Notes Torpedo Live. I've used it so many times, and it's just such a great solution. Even with other solutions on the market, I keep coming back to the Two-Note stuff. And this not only will be a great studio tool, but it will also allow you to control the volume of your speaker if you're playing live, or if you want to mic up your speaker in the room at the same time as recording a virtual cabinet out. It's pretty cool. First up, we're going to see just how well this sits in the mix with real drums and bass on this little jam track using my Fender Blues Deluxe Reissue amplifier and a combination of my effects pedals. Here we go. First up, I wanted to show you just how well this works as a power attenuation device. Now, on the back of the unit, there's a three-way toggle switch. I've currently got it set to maximum, which allows the same volume out of my amplifier as it would be if this was not connected. And this is mic'd up with an SM57 on my Blues Deluxe Reissue amplifier. So it's neck and middle. So I got my amp on about 3.5, and in the room, that's really, really loud. So on the back of the unit, I'm just gonna flick the switch down to the middle setting, which drops it drastically. Now that's kind of like conversation level, maybe a little bit louder. And now all the way down. Here we go. Now, that's not very loud at all. It's actually way lower in volume than my voice, which allows you to crank up the amplifier more. So what I'm going to do now is turn the actual master volume of the amplifier up to halfway, so 6.5 on the volume as it goes past 10. Good old Fender amps. And then we're going to see what kind of sound we get accommodating for the volume. So first up though, that's still far below my speaking volume. So what you're going to hear now is this brought up in post-production. Here we go. Now, irrespective of how loud that sounded to you, to my ear, it's way lower than my speaking voice. That's bedroom practice volume. So I've boosted that up in editing, or I will do in just a moment. One of the great things about this particular system is the fact that you can buy impulse responses that match the speaker you own. They don't have everything on their store, but they've got enough of the good stuff, and they've got one that I really love. And this is the eminent Swamp Thing IR. I love this speaker. They've referenced the 2x12 speaker box, but I have that exact speaker in my Blues Deluxe reissue amplifier. So I've got the amp still mic'd up with an SM57, and I'm going to use the same impulse response with the SM57 in this virtual room. So we're going to start with the actual amplifier to begin with, and then we'll go over to the IR. I'm just going to play something really simple for you. Here we go. And now over to the IR. I'm actually recording both at the same time. It's another benefit of this system. So there's a few reasons why. As you could hear, they both sounded different to each other. The first one is microphone placement on my side. So where I have the SM57 in front of the cone is going to drastically change the sound of what's recorded. Secondly, the impulse response I'm using is the closest one to what I have. It's a closed back 2x12 with eminent Swamp Thing speakers. Mine's a single 12 open back cabinet. So there's some differences there, but we're going to show you just how easy it is to get a much better sound with this unit once you start messing around with it. I'm not going to say better, but it's more flexible in terms of tone. And being that I could also record both at the same time before, you could run a 57 in front of your amplifier at low volumes and run a virtual microphone and cabinet to get really great results. We'll show you a bit of that in a sec, but what we're going to show you now is see how we've got microphone A, which is the dynamic SM57. I never actually had the second microphone active. So once we enable that, it's going to sound pretty cool. So let's turn on the enhancer. We're going to turn on the EQ and turn on the room reverb right now. The studio reverb sounds great. So this is just going to add some niceness, some fullness to the sound. I'm actually going to turn the body and thickness up a little bit more. Crank this up so it sounds great in the room. Let's have a listen now. Yeah, all right. So it already sounds good, but we can make it sound even better, and we have a plethora of different microphones to choose from. There's about 8 or 9 or something of them there. So the way I like to run this is to use the microphones that I own, or have the option to use microphones that I don't own to really thicken it out. One of my favorite combinations that I've been using for the last few years on the channel is the SM57, which we've got it set on, and also the Dynamic 421. These two together sound great, and it just widens the sound. Take a listen. Woo! Now, if we want a warmer sound, we can change one of the dynamic microphones. I'm going to change this one to the Ribbon 121. I'm sure you all know exactly what this is. I'm just going to back the volume off a little bit. Here we go. One of my favorites without question. Now I'm running some overdrive and gain pedals. Let's turn those off and we'll go for a bit of a clean tone. Neck pickup. Now that would be enough for most people, just having that flexibility of being able to choose which microphone on any particular number of different cabinets, but we get so much more to do with this piece of software. So we can move these microphones around in the space. So this is really cool. I'm just going to show you how it sounds with one close mic and one microphone further back. Let's take a listen. Now, if you don't have a lot of recording experience and you're not familiar with a lot of different microphones, this will give you better results than not knowing what you're doing with actual mics. There's no question about it. And it's also far more pleasing for the ears to sit in a room when it's not blisteringly loud. So what I'm listening to is the sound just out of my studio monitors at a comfortable volume. And this is how I record most of my pedal videos. Great thing is, you can either do it this way, just virtually, and get the sound of your actual valve or tube amp going into the Two-Notes Captor X, or you can still mic up your amp at reasonable volume. So overall, this is really, really cool. Now I'm going to just experiment around with a couple of these different mics. One of my other favorite ones here is this Nightfall. I think this sounds pretty great as well. Let's take a listen. All right, let's change up the other microphone now. I'm going to put this as the 57. Let's take a listen. So there's a lot of possibilities when it comes to getting different microphone combinations, as well as also being able to mic up the back of the amplifier. So if we want to change one of these to the back of the amp, we can move, say, the Nightfall to the back, and then we can position this within that sort of highlighted area to get the kind of sound we want. Now let's take a listen to this. So this is the front and the back microphone. Now to me that's just too bassy, so we want to probably change this. Let's make that a 57 as well. Now we can change the mix, so I'm going to bring down the back microphone, maybe turn up the front mic a little bit more. One of the best upgrades to the Captor X is we get a built-in noise gate. This is a lifesaver if you're a Telecaster or a Strat player, for example, and you like to use a bit of gain or distortion, or if you just get a lot of buzz in your room. So I'm going to show you how much buzz there is on my Telecaster bridge pickup with all my overdrive on. So that kind of drives me nuts after a while, especially if I'm working on an album. So we're going to hit learn on this gate, but before we do that, we have to turn our volume up and mute the strings. Here we go. All right, I'm just going to spin around a bit, see if it kicks back in. That's it. So this is the soft gate. Let's give this a shot. Woo! All right. Now let's go over to the hard gate. This will pretty much chop it a lot sooner, and you'll also lose a little bit of dynamics in this mode, but not much. Here we go. Yeah, so that's definitely a harder, faster gate. It didn't let the notes ring out. If we go back to soft, I can hit that E chord and it will just keep going for a lot longer. So if you're playing metal and you like that percussive sound of a gate hard opening and closing like that, you may actually really dig the hard setting, but for me the soft is perfect. So set it up with how much drive you're going to be using and you're laughing. One of the cool upgrades that's going to make my life a lot easier when it comes to recording the intro tracks is we get something called Twin Tracker, which is to replicate that of a doubling guitar part. And you can kind of offset the time and the amount as well. So it basically tries to replicate a secondary guitar part in real time. Here we go. And now with Twin Tracker on. Now it sounds more like it's kind of like lost in the reverb there, but if we turn the balance to the right, we get more of the original track and less of the doubling. The tightness is kind of like the timing, so if we bring it to the left, just to show you the difference. Yeah. And 83% to the other way. All right, so now we're getting more of a delay between each of the parts, and I'm hearing, I think in that mode, a little bit more towards the delayed guitar. So I'm going to bring the balance back to the middle and just see how that sounds now. Yeah, very cool. I like it. Let's try it now with my Marshall DSL 40CR amplifier on the Crunch channel, and I've got the same cabinet set up. So this is the Bayou one with the Swamp Thing speakers, and then we'll switch cabs. Here we go. All right, one of my favorite ones on here is under the 2x12s. I've got a lot of ones that I've paid for on here, and I don't know exactly which ones were free anymore, but if we go down to Eddie, take a listen to this. So that's no pedals, just going straight in out of the Marshall into the Captor X with these virtual mics and cabs. It just sounds infinitely different to how it sounded before. And that's such a great volume that I'm listening to it back through my studio monitors. It just makes it easy. So that sounds great already. Now what we can do is change up these rooms that you're seeing the picture back here as well. So there's plenty of different ones you can choose from. Studio A, Studio B, basement. I'm not gonna go through all of these on this video. I might do a deep dive coming up, but let's just change it up. We'll go to Studio B. As you can see, we've got hard floors. And I'm gonna just turn up the wet and the size a little bit more here so we can maybe hear this a little bit more prominently. Here we go. All right. Loft. So as you can see, I just sort of adjusted that on the fly. That sort of digital noise that you heard, that sort of clipping, is because I was playing and adjusting the parameter at the same time. So don't do that, just switch it up and it'll be fine. All right, over to the next one. Let's go to Hall B. As you can see, it's like a some sort of concert hall. All right, and chamber. So this will be very reflective. yeah, so midway through that last part, I switched it over to ambience, or ambience, as a lot of people say. So yeah, I really like what that does. It just gives you a much bigger trail. It's really nice. Let's go back to Studio B and try it on the ambience mode. Let's give this a shot. Yeah, so that's really nice. I could hear that bit of delay and maybe some more drive. So you get the picture, plenty of different rooms to choose from, and you can intensify the reverb or the ambience as much as you like, and you can change the wet and dry signal, the size of the room, how much echo you get, all those kind of parameters. So it's very, very functional, very usable. What I've been using for the last few years is just Studio A. I think this just sounds great, a little bit of room reverb, but not too much. Now let's go through some of the different cabs, and like I mentioned earlier, I have lots and lots of cabinets in my collection now, a lot of which I never use. I just use the ones that reference the speakers I actually own. But I go through some of these now just in case you've got a particular type of cabinet and you want to know whether or not these sound legit. So I'm still going through the Marshall. I'm over to the Gibson Les Paul Special with two P90 pickups. I'm going to start with this angle one, which obviously it's an angle, so let's start with the volume control down. This is still the crunch channel. I just wanted to show you it is still very dynamic. All right. Well, let's mix it up. We'll go through some of the 4x12s. Brit 60A, let's try this one. Now some of these aren't as loud as the others because I've sort of tweaked some of them, so we can of course turn each of these up. We can do that even just by turning up the actual unit volume. There's a few videos of this already, so I want to choose some different stuff. California Standard, this is based on that of a boogie. Now to my ear, that just sounds a little bit on the bright and nasty side. We can turn the enhancer off to kind of correct that, or we can change the microphones, reposition them for more of a room sound, whatever we want to do. So I'm just going to mix up both of these right now and bring the microphones back a bit for more of a room sound. So there's lots of possibilities there. We'll go through a couple of the 2x12s now. Obviously we've heard, this is the one called Egg Beater. I used to have an Eggnator. We used to call it the Egg Beater as a joke. So here it is. I dig that. That sounds really cool. And again, we can reposition the microphones anywhere around the cabinet we like, which is awesome. Let's try one more from the 2x12. I'm just picking these randomly. Let's try the Tanger 212, which is probably, yeah, it's the orange. Let's try this. Let's try a couple of the 4x12 impulse responses. This one's called Brick Green. If you're not sure exactly what each of them are, click on the eye and it will tell you all the information about that particular one. Now, as you can see, this one only has the single mic IR, but that's totally cool. Let's give this a shot. This is with the 57. Yeah, it's got that big sort of closed back sound, big push of air there. Let's try this Fastback 25 one. We'll see what this one sounds like. I have no idea what this is going to sound like. Whoo, that one sounds killer. Fastback 25. Check that one out. Thanks for watching, folks. My name's Shane. I'm just going to give you my thoughts about this and who it's for and why you would want to buy it or maybe upgrade from that of the Two-Notes Torpedo Live. So let's say for argument's sake you don't already have a solution like this. Would I recommend it? Absolutely, and that's coming from someone who's used the Two-Notes Torpedo Live for over 5 years. I'm a big fan, and I'm a fan because it's functional, practical, it saves your ears, and it sounds great. Now, there's lots of different combinations of tones and microphones and cabs and all that kind of stuff you can get out of it. So if my kind of tones aren't for you, you won't have any problems getting the sound that you like. But I just want to give you a rough overview today of how it can be used and what it also sounds like. One of the biggest advantages of the Two-Notes Captor X over the Live is the fact we now get those two XLR out. So if you're a gigging musician and you want to send a signal to say a PA system and then one to a recording, you can absolutely do that. You're not at the mercy of some crappy sound guy not knowing where to leave the microphone or the microphone falling out, which is done at festivals. So something like this would be a great live tool, as well as the fact now you can mic up your amplifier cabinet at a much lower volume. So you get that whole experience of an amplifier in a room, you get that recording quality, as well as a virtual cab, or you can bypass the speaker on the amp altogether. So in my opinion, this is an upgrade over that of the Two-Notes Torpedo Live. There's just a few things about it though I wish they had have done. I'm not a big fan of power supplies that you just have a box that you plug in. I would much prefer a kettle plug. I know there's probably not the space on it, but it's just something that I prefer. I feel like those connections are a lot more reliable. And this little USB, this micro USB, is kind of like an antiquated technology now. Everyone's using USB 3 as a connector. I would have loved to have seen that on there, or even one of those old bigger printer style USB cables, just for reliability's sake. The micro USB, I don't always trust it, but the good thing is once you get this hooked up and sorted for your particular tone, you may never have to hook it up to a computer again, being that you've got 6 different presets you can just scroll through on the front. Which brings me to the functionality portion of this. I love how simple this is. There's no menu diving. There's nothing like that. You get it set up and it's like using a pedal on the front. You get analog and tangible potentiometers that you can turn, and it makes life a whole lot easier. So once you get this sorted out, you're good to go, and I much prefer that over menu diving or digital systems. A massive thank you to Jason from Two-Notes for sending this out for the review. I really appreciate it. If you're looking for an all-in-one recording solution or something you can take to a gig, this is far more portable in my opinion than the Two-Notes Torpedo Live, which is a rack unit down there, but rack versus this is something that just can either sit on your amplifier or it can sit on your desk, no problems at all. Now, if you are running it into a combo, just know I had to sort of put together my own female speaker cable. Now, if you're just using amplifier heads, it's a lot easier, but I'm gonna leave some links down there to a connector that's gonna make using this with amplifier combos a whole lot easier. Thanks again for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. This is day 3 doing this video, so I hope you enjoy it. Thanks again, catch you soon. See ya.